Hi guys, it's Bridget. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up, everything I read last month. I read a total of 7 books. Some of them were great, some of them were not so great, so I'm excited to share my thoughts with you. The first book that I read in July was The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. This book, I had such high hopes for it. I recently watched the Netflix series and it was so good. I think I watched all 4 seasons in like 3 days. I just completely binged it. So when I found out that it was a book series, I thought this is perfect. While I'm waiting for the next season, I'll just read the books and catch up that way. The book is narrated by our protagonist Uhtred, who was living in the 9th century during a time when King Alfred the Great is trying to unite England while simultaneously fighting off invading Danes and Vikings. Uhtred was born English, but he was taken prisoner by the Danes as a child after they attack his city and kill his family. And eventually Uhtred actually really starts to connect with the Danes. He takes on their religion, he takes on their language and their customs, and he really starts to think of himself as a Dane as the years go by. Eventually, Uhtred becomes a warrior in his own right, and he has to contend with conflicting loyalties, whether he wants to stay with the Danes and these people he's grown up with, or if he wants to go back and defend the English. The show is so exciting and so great, but the book just really fell flat for me. One of the things that I was really hoping for in this book was the great character development that you see in the show, but since it's first person, everything just felt very shallow. I felt like you didn't really get a good look at who all of the characters were, and it just didn't seem to have the depth that I really was looking for. Also, this might just be me, but Uhtred would not stop talking about being in a shield wall in battle and finally becoming a man, and honestly, it got so old for me so fast. I was like, please, can we just talk about something else? I'm over this. And then I realized that this first book only covers like 3 episodes of the first season of the show, and I am not about to invest like 10 more books into this series just to catch up to where I left off. So it's probably going to be one that I leave and just watch the TV show instead. I ended up giving it a solid like 3 stars, probably closer to 2.5, but I'll give it 3 just because it's a good story, just not for me. The next book that I ended up reading in July was The Salt Path by Raynor Winn, and this is a memoir, and it ended up also just being another book that was not meant for me. I gave it 1 star, which is maybe a little bit harsh, but you know what, I stand by my rating. This is a memoir about a couple who loses everything, their home, their life savings, just everything they own after a bad investment. At the same time, our author learns that her husband has been diagnosed with a late-stage terminal illness that is slowly breaking down his body, and he doesn't really have much longer to live. So what do the couple decide to do? They pack up everything they own, which is not very much. It all fits in like 2 backpacks, and they decide to walk the Southwest Coastal Path, which is like 630 miles along the coast of England. Clearly, this is the most logical choice to make after your husband's told not to overexert himself. I was really looking forward to this book because I thought that it would be similar to Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which I really enjoyed when I read that one, but I just could not sympathize with our narrator. It really just seemed like she was recounting one poor decision after another and trying to make it into something more meaningful. Looking at other reviews, it seems like I'm in the minority here, so don't let my review stop you from picking it up if it sounds intriguing to you, but really just wasn't for me. My next book that I read in July was Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I don't know how I've gotten to this point in my life without reading this book or even having any idea what it was about, but it was so short, I thought, you know what, might as well pick it up and see why this is a classic. There is a lot of language and sort of outdated mentalities in this book, but if you look at it in context, it still really has a great commentary on humanity and being an outsider. The book follows our protagonists George and Lenny, who are friends, and they're trying to raise enough money to buy a farm and just live a peaceful life away from everybody else and not have to answer to anyone. Lenny has, I believe it would be some sort of autism. I mean, in the book he's described as slow-minded, which obviously is not a term that we would use today, so I'm going to assume it's some sort of autism. He is very sweet and he means really well, but he just doesn't know his own strength, and George sort of acts as his caretaker or guardian. This book seriously destroyed me. I cried so much and I was so emotionally drained after it. Going into it not expecting anything, I think was really key. I ended up giving it 5 stars because if something can make me feel so many emotions in such a short amount of time, it's clearly doing something right. In July, I also read Night Book to Tangier by Kevin Barry, and I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars, verging on 4. It was good, and I'm glad that I read it, but it wasn't really something that I lingered on. The novel is a literary fiction, very character-driven story about 2 aging Irish gangsters, Maurice and Charlie, who are waiting out the night in a ferry terminal for Maurice's estranged daughter to return. The story jumps between the present and the past as the 2 men reminisce over their friendship and just their really violent, dysfunctional lives. I didn't really love the flashback scenes, and I think that's where my rating kind of got lowered, but I really enjoyed the present day scenes with the 2 men just kind of bantering back and forth, reminiscing, philosophizing, just talking nonsense to each other as 2 aging friends do. The author just did such an excellent job with their dialogue. You know, it really just was very rambly and stream of consciousness, and you could really get a sense of who these men were, like you were in this conversation with them, and I really loved that aspect of the book. I do get the feeling that this would be really strong if listened to as an audiobook. I think you would really get a feel for the characters really well. But again, I gave it 3.5 stars. It was an okay read, not my favorite. My next July book was The Vanishing Half by Bennett, and this was by far my favorite book that I read this month. I gave it a strong 4.5 stars. The story follows a set of twins, Desiree and Stella, who are both light-skinned Black women. And one of them decides to remain a part of the Black community while the other decides to leave her family and live her life as a white woman. The book was so engaging, it was thought-provoking, I highly recommend it to everyone. I did do a full review of this particular book last month, so I will leave a link to that above and also in the description below. The next book that I read in July was a big one. It was Echo and Bone by Diana Gabaldon. This is the 7th book in the Outlander series. I mean, it's big. This one's actually shorter than most of the other ones, but it did take me a while to get through. I ended up giving it 3 stars, which just really hurts my soul because I feel such an attachment to these books. I think I have a love-hate relationship with them. I feel so attached to Jamie and Claire and all of the characters that exist in this world. When I read these books, I just feel like I'm coming back to check on friends that I haven't seen in a while. I just really have a soft spot in my heart for them. At the same time though, I just get so frustrated with the author for droning on and on and on about things that I don't even care about and then barely touching on other things that actually seem important to me, which I feel like happened a lot in this book, so that's why I kind of lowered my rating a little bit. And on top of that, I just had a real issue with the ending, so I had to knock a star for that because I just really wasn't happy with it. Obviously, I can't really explain what happens in this book because it's the 7th book in a very long series, but 3 stars. Obviously, I'll still read the next one because I love the series in general. This one just wasn't really a winner for me. The last book that I read in July was The Bridges of Madison County by Robert James Waller, and I actually listened to this one on audiobook. I was really looking forward to it because I heard that it was just this beautiful love story, one for the ages, but honestly, it really missed the mark for me as well. I gave it 2 stars, which I thought was generous. If there's one trope that I just really cannot get into, it is insta-love, and this book was full of it. The story follows a photographer, Robert Kincaid, and a housewife, Francesca Johnson, after they have a chance encounter and they develop this really intense, passionate relationship over the course of about a week or so while Francesca's family is out of town. To me, the dialogue just seemed really unnatural, and there was one particular line that really bugged me, and it was something along the lines of, he understood her maybe in a way that no woman has ever been understood before. Okay, sure. I can understand why so many people love this book, but I really think it was just not written with me in mind, and I was left really disappointed by it. Those were the 7 books that I read in July. It was honestly a really underwhelming month for me. I wasn't very strategic about the books that I picked up, but I am hoping to do better in August. I've got a great list set up and I'm excited to jump into that one. So if you want to check out my August TBR, I will link that above and also in the description below. Again, as usual, if you enjoyed this content, please remember to like and subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next video. Bye.